Welcome back, friends. Yesterday we had gone through Flamingo Unit 1, the last lesson. And in that last lesson, we had gone through difficult words and summary of the story. The story is about war. When the outskirts of a country, that is, the districts on the boundary of a country, are won by the enemy army, what they do first? First, they try to cut off. All the connection with mother tongue and mother tongue literature. Because mother tongue literature, it is the key to get rid of slavery. If they do not study mother tongue, they will not go through the history of their ancestors. And in this way, the enemy army will impose their culture on them. And they will try to make them feel proud that they are now some another identity. The story is about the outskirts districts. It means districts on the boundary of France, Alsace and Lorraine. These two districts have been won by Germans, and Germans have declared that at sharp 12 o'clock in the noon, when church clock rings the bell for 12 o'clock in the noon, an Angelus prayer, an Angelus will be held in the square of the town. And from then on, learning or teaching French language, mother tongue, will be prohibited. Schools will use only German as the medium of education. And the story is about learning and teaching mother tongue French. A French teacher, M. Hamel, is going to deliver his last lecture. Because then on, French teaching was prohibited, and even the elderly people of the town had come to the classroom to attend the last lecture of their mother tongue. This story is narrated from the perspective of an average boy. He is not good at the grammar of his mother tongue, but not only the student, the teacher also feels guilty conscious that they had not learnt their mother tongue when there was plenty of time. Now, going forward, M. Hamel asked Franz, M. Hamel is the teacher, Franz is the boy from whom perspective the story is narrated. To recite grammar rules. But he stood silent as usual. The teacher said that knowledge of mother tongue is the key to the prison of slavery. M. Hamal was the teacher. Franz is the student from whose perspective the story is narrated. M. Hamal asked Franz to recite grammar rules, but he did not know grammar rules. He was an average boy. He never paid attention. He never tried at home to learn by heart. So he stood silent as usual. Now the boy feels shy for not learning as expected, but guilty conscience is also filled in the heart of the teacher. The teacher also feels that if he had used each and every moment of the time in the past for teaching French to his students, this situation could have been better. The teacher said that knowledge of mother tongue is the key to the prison of slavery. If another army had acquired our land and the people dwelling there are compulsorily made to learn the foreign language and they are compulsorily made to adopt another nationality, it is but natural that the slave people will try to get freedom. The slave people will try to get their identity back, to get their nationality back. This situation is to be avoided by the invaders. This situation is to be avoided strategically by the invaders, and so invaders what does do? They cut off the relations with the slaves from their mother tongue. And the other side of the coin is that knowledge of mother tongue is the key to the prison of slavery. If the slaves do know their history and if they are proud of being French, they will never stop their agitation to get freedom, as India had done against English rule. The pigeons cooed very low. On the roof, Franz thought Franz thought if the German would make even the pigeons would make even the pigeons sing in German. Sing in German. So, it is an irony. This is nothing but an irony. How we can make the slaves to adopt our language and to feel pride being our nation's citizen. But this force cannot be imposed on the nature. So we cannot impose the birds of the slave country to sing in our mother tongue only. That is not possible. So it is an irony made by the author. The pigeons could very low on the roof. There was pin drop silence in the class. Everyone wanted to learn their mother tongue, but in the last lesson. And the teacher wanted to teach whatever he knew about his mother tongue, but there was only one lesson left for him. There was no time. And so everyone was dedicated to learning and teaching, and this made pin drop silence. The pigeons stood very low on the roof. Still, it was heard. Franz thought if the German would make even the pigeons sing in German. After the writing, they had a lesson in Hindri. Even an old citizen who had come to the classroom for learning his mother tongue French was crying. After the writing, they had a lesson in history. Many old citizens that day had come to the classroom to learn their beloved language, French. But they were crying. While reciting, they were crying because they were repenting. They were repenting. Why did they not learn their own mother tongue when there was plenty of time for it in the past? After the writing, they had a lesson in history. Even an old citizen who had come to the classroom for learning his mother tongue, French, was crying. At the same moment, the trumpets of the German sounded under the window. Sounded under the window. Mr. Hammer stood up. He wanted to speak, but something choked him. His sister was packing their trunk as he was ordered to leave the country. At the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians, now we call Prussians German. Prussians means German. At the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians sounded under the window. At the sharp 12 o'clock, when church bell strikes 12, at that time it was already declared that army will held an angelus prayer, and with that prayer, German rule will be imposed on Alsace and Lorraine. So, trumpets of Prussians sounded under the window. So now it was the preparation for the prayer, and after the prayer, in these two French districts, German rule will be imposed. Hamel stood up, French teacher, teaching French language, as you learn Gujarati, despite being your mother tongue. The same way, Mr. Hamel was teaching French, the mother tongue of citizens of France. And Hamel stood up. He wanted to speak. He wanted to speak further about retain your knowledge of this language. Always be careful to preserve the heritage. Something like that he was delivering, but something choked him up. The pain, the guilty conscience that he had not done his duty to the peak. If he had done his duty to the highest level, each and every man or woman, child or grown up of this district would have been master of this language. But this guilty conscience, this pain made him choked up. But something choked him. His sister was packing their trunk as he was ordered to leave the country. He was ordered to leave the country. Why? If the victorious army does not want to handle any rebel, the first strategy is to make feel the slaves that it is their good luck that they are now Germans and not French people. So, if this is to be done in a sharp way, French teachers are not allowed to live in the country. If they live in the country, they will teach French language in private, confidentially, and this will preserve the heritage or self-respect. But this is not accepted by the victorious army. So, this French teacher is ordered to leave the country, and hence his sister was packing their trunk. Then he took a piece of chalk. Then he took a piece of chalk and wrote on the blackboard, as large as he could. Vive la France! After this, he stopped and leaned his head against the wall and leaned his head against the wall. Without a word, he made a gesture with his hand. He made a gesture with his hand to indicate that the school was dismissed. And they all might go. He could not speak what he wanted to speak in the conclusion, so he took a piece of chalk and wrote on the blackboard as large as he could, in very big letters. He wrote, "Vive la France." What is the meaning? Meaning is, live long France. As our leaders, as our politicians, in the end of the speech, say Jai Hind. In the same way, in France, it is spoken Vive la France. So he wrote on the board with a very big letters, Vive la France. After this, he stopped and leaned his head against the wall like this, without a word. He could not say a word. He was so emotional. He made a gesture with his hand like that to indicate that the school was dismissed and they all might go. So, in this way, uncertainty of time is realized to us. Right now, we are thinking that we have a lot of time. March 21 exam is delayed due to lockdown. We have a lot of time, but uncertainty prevails. They are all thinking that French, we shall learn it. But all of a sudden, learning French was like a missed target. So, uncertainty of life prevails, and we have to do each and everything with this conviction that our planning must include uncertainty of time also. Circumstances may change, but our planning should be made in a such way that in changing circumstances we can achieve what we should have. Friends, material of question answers will be uploaded to you. Material of MCQ, material of short question answers will be provided to you electronically, uploaded to you. So now we are switching over to next story. We have completed one prose from flamingo. We have completed first unit of flamingo. Now we will go through first poem of flamingo. Question answers of Unit 1, last lesson, will be sent to you through application. The question answers will also include MCQs. Now, poem 1, Flamingo, poem 1. My mother at 66. My mother at 66. Friends, mother is not a word. Mother is a deity, a divine existence. Everyone has a distinct place in this world when he or she thinks about his or her mother. Our mother is not an inch less in compared to the status of God or deity. So, my mother at 66 is not a word from the poet Kamala Das. This is not the word of poet Kamala Das, but it is the feeling of each and every man or woman that whenever he thinks about his or her mother, there is some emotional part of his existence dwells there. First of all, difficult words on page 90. Difficult words on page 90. Doze. Doze means sleep. Ashen. 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 Ashen means grey like ash. Grey like ash. Sprinting. Sprinting means short race. Now, page number 91. One pal. One pale means colorless and faded. Colorless and faded. It is called one pale. Material about the poem, material about the poet will be sent to you as it was did in the case of last lesson. In the case of last lesson, you must have received material regarding the summary of the article as well as regarding the author. In the same way, material for this poem, summary of the poem as well as introduction of the author, poet, will also be sent to you shortly. Page number 90. Doze means sleep. Ocean means grey like ash. Sprinting means short rest. Page number 91. One pale means colorless and faded. Now we go through the paraphrase of the poem. Summary of the poem. Kamala Das, the poet, was driving from her parents' home, to the Cochin airport. Her mother was sitting beside her. She was 66 years old. She was 66 years old. It was grey like ash. She was grey like ash. She was dozing. She was dozing. Her face looked pale and faded. She looked lifeless. She looked lifeless. So, the poet has seen her mother many a time, as you have seen your mother many a time. Any moment, any day of your life, you just select and remember your mother. If you have poetic skill, you can write a poem on your mother. Or any day you remember. In the same way, Kamala Das is writing a poem on her mother on which day when she was driving from her parents' home to the Cochin airport. How old her mother was? She was 66. She was grey like ash. She was dozing. Her face looked pale and faded. A sign of old age. Everyone has to grow old. And if one grows old, this is inevitable that face becomes pale and colorless. She looked lifeless. Young people always doing some movement, but as one aged is at the age of 66, so she looked lifeless. The lifeless and faded face of her mother pained her heart. Her mother seemed to be lost. In her own thoughts. She was looking outside world which was full of activities. The children returning to home. Looked very happy. Okay, as it is said that children and the old age people have similarities, as children always like to watch outside the vehicle. In the same way, mother is also looking outside world from the car, which was full of activities. Outside world was full of activities. The children returning to their home looked very happy, but the lifeless and faded face of her mother pained the poetess' heart. Poetess finds it sad that outside world is full of joy, but her mother face, due to the old age, is lifeless, although she is living, but old age has restricted the physical activities. When they were at the airport, they had to undergo a security check. The poet was standing a few yards away from her mother. The poet was standing a few yards away from her mother. She felt deeply unhappy. She felt deeply unhappy seeing her mother's colorless, lifeless, and pale face. Her childhood fear, her childhood fear while separating from mother came again, but she controlled herself. She tried to appear normal. She scattered a smile on her face while saying goodbye to her mother. She wished to see her old mother again. She wished to see her old mother again. Friends, when we were small children and we departed by saying goodbye at school, there was a pain in our heart from separating our mother. The same pain, even at this age, is common all to us. But we try to appear normal. Whenever we depart from our mother, a pain is there. But we try to appear normal because now we are grown up. When they were at the airport, they had to undergo a security check. Poet was boarding on the plane mother had come to see off. So they cannot go along. The poet was standing a few yards away from her mother. Still, at the security counter, she was rendering the ticket, taking the token, and looking at the mother standing a few yards away. She felt deeply unhappy seeing a mother's colorless, lifeless, and pale face. She has remembered how the youthful face was of the mother in her childhood. We all have remembered. We all have remembered our mother's youthful face when we were a child. But after the passing of years, she has grown aged. And so the face is pale and lifeless. But this pale and lifeless pale makes a worry to the daughter. Her childhood fear while separating from mother came again. Whenever we depart from our mother, there is the same fear, there is the same pain as we had experienced in our school while departing from mother. But she controlled herself, as we all control ourselves. Why control? She tried to appear normal because we have grown up. Now, if we cry while departing from mother, it is childish, it is like foolish. So, despite having the same pain, we appear to be normal. She scattered a smile on her face while saying goodbye to mother. And she tried to smile at the mother while saying goodbye. Because in the heart there was pain of the separation. But face was revealing only a smile. Scattered smile. She wished to see her old mother again. Everyone wishes. Okay. So, we have gone through the summary of the poem. A question answer along with MCQs will be sent to you. And in the next lecture, we shall go through another topic. Thank you very much. Goodbye.